You know that feeling when your mind just won't shut up? It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, and your brain decides now is the perfect time to replay that awkward conversation from 3 years ago, or worry about tomorrow's meeting, or wonder if you locked the front door. Again, here's the thing nobody tells you. Your mind isn't broken. It's not defective. You're not just an anxious person. The real problem? Your mind is running on autopilot, and nobody ever taught you how to take back the controls. I'm not going to give you some meditation app recommendation or tell you to just think positive thoughts. That's like telling someone drowning to just swim better. Useless. Instead, I'm going to show you the actual system that turns a chaotic mind into a calm one. Not temporarily, not with daily affirmations, but with a real practical framework that works even when life gets messy. Because here's what I've learned after years of studying how the mind actually works. Calmness isn't something you find. It's something you build. So if you're ready to stop fighting your thoughts and start directing them, let's begin. Learning number 1. Your mind is restless because you leave it empty. The problem: your brain is constantly racing. Random thoughts pop up out of nowhere. You're sitting at your desk trying to work, and suddenly you're thinking about what to have for dinner, that email you forgot to send, and whether your coworker was annoyed at you this morning. The real cause. Here's something neuroscience has known for decades, but nobody talks about. Your mind hates being empty. When you don't give your brain a clear direction, it starts creating its own content. And guess what kind of content an undirected mind creates? Negative loops, useless worries, the same thoughts on repeat. Scientists call this the default mode network. Basically, your brain's screensaver mode. When you're not actively engaged in something, your mind defaults to wandering. And when it wanders, it usually wanders into worry. The solution: intentional thinking. This isn't about controlling your thoughts like some guru sitting on a mountain. It's simpler and more practical. Every morning, spend just 10 minutes deciding what you're going to think about. Not letting your mind randomly generate content, actually choosing your mental focus for the day. Here's the exact method. Grab a notebook. Write down 3 questions. What's been taking up the most space in my mind lately? Is this thing within my control or outside of it? If it's in my control, what's one action I can take today? That's it. This simple exercise does something powerful. It moves your mind from random thinking to structured thinking. When you give your brain a clear problem to solve, it stops generating anxiety-filled scenarios. It focuses on what matters. Think of it like this. Your mind is like a powerful search engine. If you don't type in a search query, it just shows you random junk ads. But when you give it a specific question, it goes to work finding answers. Example from my own life. I used to wake up with this vague sense of dread. My mind would immediately start listing everything that could go wrong that day. Meetings I might mess up, emails I hadn't answered, problems that didn't even exist yet. Then I started this 10-minute morning practice. I'd write, "I'm worried about the client presentation today." Then I'd ask, "Can I control this?" Yes. What's one action? Prepare 1 extra backup slide and rehearse my opening twice. Suddenly, my mind had a job. Instead of spinning in anxiety, it was working on a solution. The worry didn't disappear completely, but it became productive worry instead of paralyzing worry. And here's what surprised me. This works even on days when there's no clear problem to solve, because the act of intentionally choosing what to think about trains your mind to stop running wild. The truth: most people think a calm mind means no thoughts. That's not it. A calm mind is a directed mind. It's not about emptying your head, it's about filling it with the right things. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you jump into your day, take 10 minutes. Decide what your mind will work on. Give it direction. Because a mind without direction will always find something to worry about. But a mind with clear intention, that's where calmness begins. Learning number 2. Your mind stays disturbed because of unresolved loops. The problem: you keep thinking about the same things over and over. That conversation you should have handled differently. The project you haven't finished. The decision you're still unsure about. Your mind feels like a browser with 47 tabs open, and half of them are playing music you can't find. The real cause: psychologists call these open loops. Things that started in your mind but never got closure. An unfinished task. An unclear decision. An emotion you never processed. A conversation that ended awkwardly. These sit in your mental background like apps running on your phone, draining your battery even when you're not using them. There's actually fascinating research from the early 1900s. A psychologist named Bluma Zygarnik discovered that our brains remember incomplete tasks way better than completed ones. It's called the Zygarnik effect. Your brain is literally wired to hold on to unfinished business. Not to torture you, but because it thinks these are important problems that need solving. The issue: your mind doesn't distinguish between important unfinished tasks and things you're procrastinating on or emotions you're avoiding. It treats them all the same. Urgent. Remember this. Don't let it go. The solution: close your loops. I'm going to give you a method I use every single night. Takes 5 minutes. Completely changed how my mind operates. The nightly brain dump. Before bed, grab your notebook. Yes, paper, not your phone. Write down everything swimming around in your head. Don't filter, don't organize, just dump it all out. Things you need to do. Things you're worried about. Conversations replaying, random thoughts, all of it. Then, and this is the crucial part, next to each item, write one of 3 things. Action. This needs to be done. Write the next smallest step. Release. This is outside my control. I'm letting it go. Later. This matters, but not now. Schedule when you'll handle it. Here's what this does. It gives your brain permission to stop holding on to everything. When you write, call dentist, action, look up number tomorrow morning, your brain stops sending you reminder notifications. It knows the task is captured. It trusts the system. When you write, worried about mom's health, release, I can't control this, but I can call her Sunday. Your mind gets closure, not because the worry disappeared, but because you acknowledged it and decided what you can actually do about it. Real example: a friend of mine, Sarah, used to lie in bed for an hour every night, mind racing. She'd think about work deadlines, family issues, whether she was a good enough parent, if she should change careers. I taught her the brain dump method. First night, she wrote down 23 things, 23 unresolved loops just floating in her head. She went through each one. Some got actions, some got releases, some got scheduled for later. She told me the next morning She felt like her mind had taken the deepest breath it had in months. Why? Because those 23 loops were finally closed. Her brain didn't have to keep reminding her anymore. The deeper truth? Most mental restlessness isn't about having too many problems. It's about having too many unresolved problems. Your mind isn't asking you to solve everything tonight. It just needs to know you've acknowledged everything and have a plan. Even if that plan is, "I'll deal with this next week," or "This isn't mine to solve." Close the loops. Your mind will thank you with actual rest. Learning number 3, your mind is restless because your body system is unstable. The problem, you feel anxious for no reason, irritated without knowing why, restless even when nothing stressful is happening. Your mind feels like it's vibrating at a frequency that won't settle down. The real cause. Here's something Western medicine is finally catching up to. Your mind and body aren't separate systems. When your physical state is chaotic, poor sleep, irregular breathing, no movement, constant stimulation, your mental state becomes chaotic too. It's not a metaphor. It's physiology. Studies from institutions like MIT and Johns Hopkins have shown that irregular breathing patterns directly increase cortisol, stress hormone, and trigger the same brain responses as actual threats. Your body and mind share the same nervous system. When your body is in danger mode, your mind can't be in calm mode. It's literally impossible. The solution: stabilize your nervous system. This isn't about becoming an athlete or meditating for hours. It's about 3 simple daily practices that regulate your internal system. 1. Breathing control. The fastest way to signal safety to your nervous system is through deliberate breathing. Here's the pattern I use, different from the traditional methods. 5-2-7. Breathing. Breathe in for 5 counts. Hold for 2 counts. Breathe out for 7 counts. Do this for just 5 minutes. Morning or evening doesn't matter. Why this works. When your exhale is longer than your inhale, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. Your body physically cannot be in fight or flight when you're breathing this way. 2. Daily movement, non-negotiable. I'm not talking about crushing a workout. I'm talking about 20 to 30 minutes of walking, outside if possible. Walking does something remarkable. It's bilateral stimulation. Your left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. This rhythm helps process emotional backlog and reduces mental noise. Plus, movement literally metabolizes stress hormones. They don't just go away. Your body burns through them. 3. Screen-free wind down. 1 hour before bed. No screens. None. I know. But I need to check my email. What if something important happens? Listen, your nervous system doesn't care about your inbox. Blue light tells your brain it's daytime. Scrolling keeps your mind in reactive mode. You can't go from consuming information to deep rest in 5 minutes. Replace it with literally anything else. Reading a physical book, journaling, talking to someone, sitting quietly. Real example. I used to think I was just a restless person. My mind was always humming. Even on vacation, I couldn't fully relax. Then I started tracking something. On days I walked 30 minutes and did 5 minutes of breathing, my mind was noticeably calmer. On days I skipped both, total mental chaos by evening. It wasn't my thoughts that were the problem. It was my dysregulated nervous system creating a shaky foundation. Once I stabilized the body, the mind followed. The uncomfortable truth. You can't think your way into calmness if your body is sending panic signals. You can't meditate away the effects of chronic stress hormones. Fix the foundation first. Breathe deliberately. Move your body. Protect your sleep. Your mind isn't separate from your body. Stop treating them like they are. Learning. Number 4. Your mind stays disturbed because you take every thought seriously. The problem. A negative thought pops up and you immediately believe it. I'm going to fail. They don't like me. Something bad is going to happen. And then you spend the next hour analyzing why you thought that, what it means, and how to fix it. The real cause. You're not observing your thoughts. You're fusing with them. In psychology, this is called cognitive fusion. When you mistake your thoughts for reality. When a thought appears, you don't see it as a thought. You see it as the truth. But here's what neuroscience tells us. Your brain generates around 6,000 thoughts per day. Most of them completely random, totally meaningless, just mental noise. Your brain isn't some perfect truth-generating machine. It's more like a very anxious intern who keeps suggesting worst-case scenarios just in case. The solution: thought separation. This is going to sound simple, almost too simple, but it's one of the most powerful mental skills you can develop. When a negative thought appears, pause. Then say to yourself, that's a thought, not a fact. That's it. You're not arguing with the thought, not trying to replace it with a positive one, just labeling it. Then add one more step. Name the thought type. That's fear talking. That's doubt. That's overthinking. That's my inner critic. Here's what this does. It creates distance between you and the thought. Instead of, I'm going to fail, which feels like a truth, it becomes, my brain just generated a fear thought about failure, which is just a mental event. Real example. I was preparing for a big presentation. Out of nowhere, my brain went, you're going to mess this up. Everyone will see you're a fraud. Old me would have spent 45 minutes spiraling into anxiety, rehearsing backup plans, maybe even considering canceling. New me? I caught it. Oh, that's fear. My brain's just doing its protect me from embarrassment thing. I didn't fight the thought. Didn't try to convince myself I'd be amazing. Just acknowledged. Fear thought. Noted. And you know what happened? The thought lost its power because I wasn't feeding it attention and belief. The practice. This week, every time a negative thought appears, try this. Pause for 2 seconds. Say, that's a thought. Label it. Fear, doubt, worry, criticism. Return to what you were doing. Don't engage. Don't analyze. Don't try to fix the thought. Just observe it like you'd observe a cloud passing by. The deeper truth. Most of your mental disturbance doesn't come from the thoughts themselves. It comes from how seriously you take them. When you stop treating every thought like breaking news, your mind naturally quiets down. Because you're no longer reacting to everything, you're just noticing. Learning. Number 5. Your mind isn't calm because you have no clear focus system. The problem, you sit down to work. 5 minutes later, you're checking your phone, then email, then back to work, then remembering you need to text someone, then noticing something on your desk needs organizing. You're busy all day, but can't remember what you actually accomplished. The real cause. Your brain doesn't have clarity about what it should focus on right now. Here's the thing. Your brain craves clarity. When it doesn't know what the priority is, it defaults to whatever feels easiest or most stimulating. Research from Stanford's psychology department shows that multitasking, or even just task switching, drains your mental energy faster than sustained focus on one thing. Every time you switch tasks, there's a cognitive cost. Your brain has to unload the old task, load the new one, get oriented. It's like constantly rebooting your computer. Exhausting. The solution: single task system. I'm going to give you the simplest productivity rule that actually works. One task, one timer, total focus. Here's how. Choose one task, not three, not "I'll work on this project." Set a timer for 25 minutes. During those 25 minutes, only that task. No phone, no email, no quick checks. When timer ends, 5-minute break. Repeat. This is loosely based on the Pomodoro technique, but the key isn't the timer. It's the mental commitment to single tasking. Real example. My friend Jake used to work 10 hours a day and feel exhausted but unproductive. He'd have his computer open, phone nearby, TV on in the background, jumping between tasks. I challenged him. Pick your hardest task tomorrow. Set a timer, 25 minutes of only that, no exceptions. He came back shocked. I got more done in that 25 minutes than I usually do in 3 hours. Why? Because for the first time in years, his brain wasn't spending energy on constant task switching. It was actually working. The unexpected benefit. When you practice single tasking, your mind becomes calmer throughout the entire day. Because you're training your brain that focus mode exists, that it doesn't have to monitor 17 things simultaneously. Multitasking creates mental noise. Single tasking creates mental clarity. And clarity, that's what calm feels like. The practice. Tomorrow, pick your most important task. Before you check email, social media, or anything else, set timer. 25 minutes. Close everything else. Do only that task. Notice how your mind feels afterward. I guarantee you'll be surprised by how much more mental space you have. Learning. Number 6, your mind stays unstable because you have no emotional outlet. The problem, you're carrying around stress, frustration, disappointment, anger, but you never actually release it. You just stuff it down and keep moving. And over time, these suppressed emotions turn into constant mental noise. The real cause. Emotions aren't meant to be stored. They're meant to be processed. When you don't express or release emotions, they don't disappear. They convert into anxiety, irritability, and that vague sense of, I don't feel okay, but I don't know why. Think of emotions like a pressure valve. If you never release the pressure, it builds and builds until your whole system is running at high tension. The solution: build a release system. You need regular ways to let emotional pressure out. Here are 3 methods that actually work. 1. Writing. Grab a journal. Write exactly what you're feeling. Unfiltered. No one will read it. I'm angry about, I feel disappointed because, I'm scared that. This isn't therapy journaling where you analyze everything. This is emotional dumping, getting it out of your head and onto paper. 2. Talking. Find one person you trust, not someone who'll try to fix everything, just someone who'll listen. Say, I just need to vent for 5 minutes. Can you just listen? Then talk. Let it out. 3. Physical movement. Sometimes emotions are stored in the body. Fast walking, running, dancing, even intense cleaning. Physical movement metabolizes emotional energy. Ever notice how after a good workout or a long walk, you feel mentally lighter? That's not just endorphins. That's your body processing emotional backlog. Real example. Sarah, same friend from earlier, came to me one day feeling completely overwhelmed. I don't even know what's wrong. I just feel heavy. I asked, when's the last time you actually expressed what you're feeling? Long pause. I don't remember. I gave her homework. Tonight, write for 15 minutes. Just dump everything out. Next day, she said, I cried while writing. I didn't even know I was carrying that much. Her mind had been trying to hold space for all these unprocessed emotions. Once she released them, her mental load dropped significantly. The truth. A calm mind isn't one that never feels emotions. It's one that doesn't accumulate them. When you create regular outlets, writing, talking, moving, you stop carrying emotional weight that was never meant to be stored. Your mind gets lighter, quieter, calmer. Recap. Part 1. Summary. We've covered 6 fundamental learnings. Direct your mind intentionally. Don't leave it empty. Close your mental loops. Unresolved things create constant noise. Stabilize your body first. Breathing, movement, sleep matter. Separate from your thoughts. Observe. Don't fuse. Single task to build focus. Multitasking creates mental chaos. Release emotions regularly. Suppressed feelings become mental noise. These aren't random tips. They're a system. And here's the most important thing I want you to understand. Calmness isn't something you achieve once and keep forever. It's something you practice daily. You don't fix your mind and then you're done. You build systems that keep your mind stable. In the next part, we'll go deeper into the patterns that keep your mind restless and the exact practices that bring lasting stability. But for now, pick one learning from this section. Just one. Write it down. Commit to practicing it for the next 3 days. Because transformation doesn't come from reading everything. It comes from applying something. Learning number 7. Your mind isn't calm because you can't tolerate uncertainty. The problem, you lie awake thinking, what if this doesn't work out? What if I made the wrong choice? What's going to happen next month? Your brain runs endless simulations of possible futures, most of them catastrophic. The real cause. Here's something psychologists have known for years, but most people never learn. Your brain is hardwired to crave certainty. Thousands of years ago, uncertainty meant danger. The rustling in the bushes could be wind or a predator. Our ancestors who assumed the worst and prepared survived. The optimistic ones, not so much. So your brain inherited this survival mechanism. When you don't know what's coming, assume threat. The problem? Modern life is inherently uncertain. You can't control outcomes. You can't predict the future. You can't guarantee results. And when your brain can't find certainty, it does something destructive. It creates negative scenarios to feel prepared. That's what anxiety actually is. Your brain trying to prepare for every possible bad outcome so you won't be caught off guard. The solution: train uncertainty, tolerance. You're not going to eliminate uncertainty from your life. That's impossible. But you can train your brain to handle it without spiraling into panic. Here's the exact 3-step process I use whenever a future worry appears. Step 1. Write down the worst-case scenario. Not to scare yourself, but to take it out of the vague, everything will collapse fog and make it concrete. Example. Worst case, I lose my job and can't pay rent for 3 months. Step 2. Write your action plan for that worst case. This is crucial. Your brain needs to know Even if the worst happens, I have a response. Example, if that happened, I'd apply for unemployment immediately, move in with my sister temporarily, take freelance work to cover basics, cut non-essential expenses. Step 3. Write what you can control, right now, not next month, not if things go wrong. What action is available to you today? Example, today I can update my resume, reach out to 2 contacts in my network, save an extra $200 this month. What this does, it moves your brain from imaginary fear, which feels overwhelming, to real action, which feels manageable. Your mind stops spinning worst-case scenarios because it now has a plan. Even if the plan is, here's what I'd do if things go badly, that's enough to settle the nervous system. Real example. My client Tom was about to launch his first business. He couldn't sleep. Every night, his brain listed everything that could go wrong. I walked him through this process. Worst case? The business fails, I lose my savings, and have to go back to employment. Action plan. I'd take a temporary job in my field, rebuild savings over 6 months, and try again with lessons learned. I'd still have my skills and experience. Today's control. I can validate my idea with 10 potential customers this week, set a budget limit I won't exceed, and create a backup savings fund. He told me later, just writing that out took 90% of the anxiety away. My brain finally felt like, okay, we have a plan. We can handle this. The deeper truth. Most anxiety isn't about the actual problem. It's about the feeling of not knowing what you'd do if the problem happens. When you build if-then plans, you remove the unknown. And when the unknown shrinks, so does the anxiety. The practice. Next time you catch yourself spiraling about the future, stop. Don't try to convince yourself it'll be fine. Instead ask, what's the actual worst case? If that happened, what would I do? What can I control right now? Write it down. Your mind will calm down faster than you expect. Learning number 8. Your mind is disturbed because you're living in information overload. The problem, you consume content constantly. Podcasts while cooking, articles during lunch, videos before bed, social media in every spare second. But despite all this information, you don't feel smarter or clearer. You feel more confused and mentally exhausted. The real cause. Your brain has a limited processing capacity. Think of it like a computer's RAM. When you continuously feed it information without time to process, it creates mental clutter. The information doesn't get filed away properly. It just piles up, creating background noise that prevents clarity. Studies from the University of California found that the average person today consumes as much data in a single day as someone in the 15th century consumed in their entire lifetime. Your brain wasn't designed for this volume. The solution: create an information diet. Just like you can't eat everything you see and stay healthy, you can't consume every piece of content and stay mentally clear. Rule: consume less, process more. Here's the system. 1. After consuming any content, article, video, podcast, take 5 minutes and write, what did I actually learn? Where can I apply this? What's one action I'll take from this? This forces your brain to process instead of just accumulate. 2. Create content-free windows. First hour of the morning, no content consumption. Last hour before bed, no screens. These gaps give your brain space to think its own thoughts instead of constantly reacting to others' thoughts. 3. One in, one out rule. Before consuming something new, ask, is this more valuable than what I'd think about on my own right now? Sometimes the answer is yes. Often it's no. Real example. I used to listen to podcasts during every walk, read articles during every meal, scroll Twitter during every break. I thought I was maximizing my time. I was actually maximizing my mental noise. Then I tried one week, walks without podcasts, meals without phone, just silence and my own thoughts. The first 2 days felt uncomfortable, like something was missing. By day 3, I noticed something. My own ideas started appearing, creative thoughts I'd been drowning out with constant input. By the end of the week, my mind felt clearer than it had in months. I wasn't depriving myself of information. I was finally giving my brain space to process what I already knew. The uncomfortable truth. More information doesn't equal more clarity. Often, it equals more confusion. Your mind needs white space, empty time, moments where nothing is coming in so something can come out. The practice. This week, try these content-free windows. Morning routine, no phone for the first 45 minutes, 1 meal per day, no screens, evening walk, no podcasts, just your thoughts. Notice how your mind feels after 3 days. You might be surprised by what emerges when you stop filling every second with other people's thoughts. Learning. Number 9. Your mind stays unstable because your decisions aren't clear. The problem? Small decisions paralyze you. What to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first, whether to say yes or no to that invitation. You spend mental energy on things that shouldn't require much thought. The real cause. Decision fatigue is real. Every choice, even tiny ones, uses mental energy. Research from Columbia University shows that when people face too many options or unclear criteria for choosing, they experience increased stress and reduced decision quality. But here's the key. It's not the number of decisions that exhausts you. It's the lack of clear decision rules. When you don't have preset criteria, every choice becomes a new problem to solve from scratch. The solution. Build decision rules. Decision rules are pre-made frameworks that tell you what to do in recurring situations. Instead of deciding fresh each time, you follow your rule. Examples. Rule number 1, the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. No deliberation. Email that needs a quick reply? Send it now. Dish in the sink? Wash it now. Rule number 2, the energy match rule. High-energy tasks during high-energy hours. Low-energy tasks during low-energy hours. I know my peak focus is 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., so that's when I do deep work. Admin tasks happen after 3 p.m. when my energy naturally dips. Rule number 3, the aligned action rule. Before saying yes to anything, ask, does this move me toward my main goal? If no, default answer is no. No guilt. No second guessing. Rule number 4, the 24-hour rule. For any major decision or emotional response, wait 24 hours before acting. This eliminates impulse decisions and gives your rational brain time to catch up with your emotional brain. Real example. My friend Jessica used to spend 20 minutes every morning deciding what to wear. Sounds trivial, but it was draining her mental energy before her day even started. I suggested, create a decision rule. Pick 5 go-to outfits on Sunday, Monday through Friday, just rotate them. 0 decisions. She resisted at first. But what if I don't feel like wearing that on Tuesday? I said, then you're prioritizing feeling over efficiency. That's fine. But no, it has a cost. She tried it. 1 week later, I can't believe how much mental space that freed up. I never realized how much energy I was spending on something that doesn't actually matter. The deeper truth. Decision fatigue doesn't come from having a busy life. It comes from redeciding the same things over and over. When you create rules, you decide once, then execute repeatedly. Your mind gets to rest instead of constantly problem-solving. The practice. Identify 3 recurring decisions in your life that drain energy. Morning routine choices. What to work on first. When to check email. How to respond to certain requests. Create one simple rule for each. Write them down. Follow them for 1 week without questioning. Notice how much mental space opens up when you're not constantly deciding. Learning. Number 10. Your mind isn't calm because your environment isn't supportive. The problem, you want to focus, but your surroundings are chaotic. Phone buzzing, desk cluttered, TV in the background, people interrupting. You feel like you're constantly fighting against your environment to get anything done. The real cause. Your behavior is shaped by your environment more than you realize. Stanford behavioral studies show that environment design is often more powerful than willpower. If your space is cluttered, distracting, or chaotic, your mind mirrors that state. Not because you're weak, because you're human. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment for cues. What should I focus on? What needs attention? Where's the threat? A messy, noisy environment sends constant signals. Something needs attention. Something needs attention. Something needs attention. Your mind can't settle because it's reacting to environmental chaos. The solution: design your environment for calmness. You don't need a perfect minimalist home. You need strategic environmental design. Step 1. Create a focus zone. One specific spot where you only do focused work. Not email, not scrolling, just deep work. Your brain will start associating that space with focus. Over time, just sitting there will trigger concentration. Step 2. Remove visual clutter. Your desk doesn't need to be empty, but it shouldn't have 15 unrelated objects competing for attention. Clear surface equals clear mind. It's not aesthetic advice. It's neurological reality. Step 3. Control your notification environment. Phone on silent isn't enough. Put it in another room during focus time. Every time your brain knows a notification could arrive, it dedicates background processing to monitoring for it. Out of sight equals actually out of mind. Step 4. Use environmental cues. Want to read more? Put a book on your pillow. When you get in bed, there it is. Want to stop scrolling first thing? Charge your phone outside your bedroom. Make the behavior you want easier. Make the behavior you don't want harder. Real example. I used to work from my couch with my laptop, phone next to me, TV on low volume for background noise. I'd sit there for 3 hours and accomplish what should take 45 minutes. Then I created a focus environment. One desk, cleared of everything except laptop and notebook phone in the kitchen, on silent, no TV, no music, just silence. Rule: when I sit at this desk, I only do one task. First time I tried it, I was shocked. I completed a project in 90 minutes that usually took me all day. Not because I suddenly got smarter, because I removed the environmental friction that was draining my focus. The deeper truth: you can't willpower your way through a chaotic environment. Discipline is important, but environment design is more powerful. When your surroundings support focus, your mind naturally becomes calmer. The practice. This week, redesign one space. Clear your desk completely. Only return what's essential. Create one phone-free zone, bedroom or workspace. Identify your biggest environmental distraction and remove it for 5 days. Notice how your mental state shifts when your environment supports you instead of fighting you. Learning number 11. Your mind stays restless because you constantly judge yourself. The problem? Your inner dialogue sounds like this. I'm not good enough. I should be further along by now. Why can't I just get it together? I'm falling behind everyone else. You treat yourself like a harsh critic, not a supportive friend. The real cause. Self-criticism feels productive. It feels like you're holding yourself accountable. But research from the University of Texas shows that self-criticism actually increases anxiety and depression while decreasing motivation and performance. Here's why. When you constantly judge yourself, your brain perceives you as a threat to yourself. It stays in defensive mode, which is the opposite of calm. Self-compassion, on the other hand, treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show a friend, has been shown to improve mental resilience and reduce stress. The solution. Reset your self-talk. This isn't about lying to yourself or toxic positivity. It's about talking to yourself like someone who's on your side. The practice. Every time you catch yourself in harsh self-judgment, pause. Then reframe. Instead of, I'm so behind, I should have achieved more by now. Say, I'm learning and growing at my own pace. Progress isn't linear. Instead of, I failed again, I'm just not capable. Say, I'm trying something difficult. That takes courage. I can learn from this. Instead of, everyone else has it figured out except me. Say, I'm comparing my behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. That's not fair to me. Notice, you're not pretending everything is perfect. You're just speaking to yourself with honesty and kindness. Real example. My client Anna had the harshest inner critic I'd ever encountered. Every mistake was evidence that she was fundamentally broken. I asked her, if your best friend made this same mistake, what would you say to her? She paused. I'd tell her it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. She's still learning. So why don't you deserve that same compassion? Long silence. She started practicing. Every harsh thought she'd ask, would I say this to my best friend? If the answer was no, she'd rephrase. 3 weeks later, she told me, my anxiety has dropped significantly. I didn't realize how much stress I was creating just by how I talked to myself. The deeper truth, your mind can't be calm when your inner voice is constantly attacking you. Self-compassion isn't weakness. It's the foundation of mental stability. When you're on your own side, your mind finally feels safe enough to relax. The practice. This week, catch every harsh self-judgment. Ask, would I say this to someone I care about? If no, rephrase it with kindness. Track how your mental state shifts when you become your own ally instead of your own enemy. Learning number 12. Your mind won't stabilize because you lack consistency. The problem? You start strong. New morning routine, daily journaling, regular exercise. 3 days in, you're feeling great. Week 2, you skip a day, then another. Then you stop completely, and you're back where you started, feeling frustrated. The real cause. You're expecting instant transformation, but the mind is trained through repetition, not revelation. Habit research, particularly James Clear's work in Atomic Habits, shows that small, consistent actions create long-term change. not occasional big efforts. One intense week of meditation won't calm your mind permanently, but 5 minutes daily for 3 months, that rewires your brain. The issue isn't that you lack discipline, it's that you're aiming too high and burning out. The solution, the minimum action rule. Instead of, I'm going to meditate 30 minutes every morning, try, I'm going to breathe intentionally for 3 minutes every morning. Instead of, I'm going to journal every night, try, I'm going to write 3 sentences before bed. The goal isn't to do the maximum. The goal is to never miss. Why this works? Missing breaks the pattern. Your brain starts associating the habit with failure. But when the bar is so low you can't not do it, you build the consistency muscle. Then, once the habit is locked in, you can expand it. Real example. I wanted to start a daily writing practice. I set a goal, 1,000 words per day. I lasted 4 days. Then life got busy. I missed a day, then another. Then I gave up. Next time, I changed the rule. 50 words. Every single day, no exceptions. Some days I wrote 50 words. Some days I wrote 800, but I never wrote 0. After 60 days, writing daily wasn't a decision anymore. It was automatic. That's when I increased the minimum. But I never would have gotten there if I'd started with an unsustainable standard. The deeper truth, your mind doesn't stabilize from one big breakthrough. It stabilizes from daily micro-actions, repeated until they become part of who you are. Consistency beats intensity, every single time. The practice. Pick one practice from this entire guide. Set the absolute minimum version. 2 minutes of breathing, 3 sentences of journaling, 1 focus session per day. Do that minimum, every day, for 21 days. Don't increase it. Don't skip it. Just lock in the consistency. After 21 days, your mind will naturally want more, but the foundation will be unshakable. Recap, Part 2, Summary. We've covered 6 more critical learnings. Train uncertainty tolerance. Worst-case planning removes imaginary fear. Create an information diet. Less input, more processing. Build decision rules. Decide once, execute repeatedly. Design your environment. Surroundings shape your mental state. Reset your self-talk. Harsh criticism creates mental chaos. Lock in consistency. Small daily actions beat big sporadic efforts. Here's the pattern you might be noticing. A calm mind isn't achieved. It's built through systems, through consistency, through small intentional choices repeated daily. You're not trying to fix yourself. You're training your mind the same way you'd train your body, gradually, consistently, with clear practices. In the next part, we'll explore the deepest layers, how to handle emotional triggers, break reactive patterns, and build unshakable mental stability even when life gets chaotic. But right now, pause. Which one learning from this section hits you hardest? Write it down. Commit to practicing it for the next 48 hours. Because reading without action is just entertainment. Action, even small action, is transformation. Learning number 13. Your mind isn't calm. Because you react immediately to every emotion. The problem, something triggers you, a comment, a memory, a worry, and instantly you're swept into the emotion. Someone criticizes your work? Immediate defensiveness. A worry pops up. Instant spiral into anxiety. Something irritates you. You're angry before you even realize it. You're not choosing your responses. You're on autopilot. The real cause. Between stimulus and response, there's supposed to be a gap, a moment where you choose how to react. But most people have zero pause gap. The trigger happens, and the reaction is automatic. This isn't a character flaw. It's how your nervous system is wired. Your brain's job is efficiency, so it creates shortcuts. When X happens, do Y. Problem is, these shortcuts were often built during stressful times or childhood, and they're not serving you anymore. The solution, the 2-second rule. This is going to sound absurdly simple, but it's one of the most powerful mental skills you can develop. When you feel triggered emotionally, before you react, pause for 2 seconds. That's it. 2 seconds. During those 2 seconds, do this. Don't try to change the feeling. Don't judge yourself for having it. Just observe your body. How's my breathing? Fast? Shallow? Held? Where do I feel tension? Chest? Jaw? Shoulders? What's the physical sensation? Heat? Tightness? Pressure? Why this works? That 2-second pause does something neurologically powerful. It activates your prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, instead of letting your amygdala, the reactive brain, run the show. Research from Harvard's neuroscience department shows that mindful pausing literally changes which part of your brain is in control. When you observe the physical sensation instead of immediately reacting, you're essentially telling your brain, "We're not in danger. We can think about this." Real example, I used to have a coworker who could trigger me instantly. Every time he questioned my decisions in meetings, I'd feel my chest tighten, my face get hot, and I'd respond defensively, often making things worse. Then I learned the 2-second rule. Next meeting, he questioned something I proposed. I felt that familiar surge of defensiveness rising, but instead of speaking, I paused. 2 seconds. I noticed tight chest, shallow breathing, heat in my face. Just that observation created enough space. I took one deeper breath, then responded calmly, "That's a fair question. Here's the reasoning behind it." Same trigger, different response, because I created a gap. Over time, his comments stopped triggering me at all because I wasn't reacting. I was responding. The deeper truth. Control isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about creating space between feeling and action. When you react instantly, you're being controlled by the emotion. When you pause, you're choosing your response. That's where real calm comes from, not the absence of triggers, but the ability to pause before reacting. The practice. This week, practice the 2-second pause. When someone says something that bothers you, when anxiety appears, when frustration rises, when you feel defensive, don't try to change the feeling. Just pause, observe your body, then respond. You'll be amazed how much power lives in those 2 seconds. Learning, number 14. Your mind stays unstable because your identity is unclear. The problem, you don't really know who you are. Not in some deep philosophical sense, but in a practical daily way. What do you stand for? What are your non-negotiables? What kind of person are you trying to be? Without clear answers, every decision becomes a question. Every choice requires energy. Every situation creates internal conflict. The real cause. Psychologists call this identity fragmentation. When you don't have a clear sense of self, your mind constantly second-guesses. Should I say yes to this? Is this something I would do? Am I being true to myself? These questions drain mental energy, and they create instability because you're constantly trying to figure out who you are instead of operating from a clear foundation. The solution. Define your identity. This isn't about creating a fake persona. It's about getting clear on who you're intentionally choosing to be. Here's the exercise. Grab your notebook. Answer this question. What kind of person do I want to be? Then create 3 identity rules. How I think. What's my default mindset? How I behave. What actions reflect who I am? What I don't do. What's incompatible with this identity? Example. I am someone who operates with clarity and focus. How I think. I prioritize depth over distraction. I ask, what matters most right now? Before reacting, I choose quality over quantity in everything. How I behave. I protect my focus time like appointments. I finish what I start before moving to something new. I say no to things that scatter my attention. What I don't do, I don't multitask. I don't check my phone during conversations. I don't commit to things that don't align with my goals. What this does, when your identity is clear, decisions become automatic. Someone invites you to something, you don't spend 30 minutes deliberating. You check, does this align with who I am? If no, easy decline. You feel tempted to scroll mindlessly. You remember, I'm someone who chooses depth over distraction. Decision made. Real example. My friend Marcus struggled with constant people-pleasing. He'd say yes to everything, then feel resentful and overwhelmed. I asked him, what kind of person do you want to be? He thought for a while. Someone who's honest and intentional with my time? I said, okay. So, what would that person do when asked to do something they don't want to do? Long pause. They'd say no, kindly but clearly. Then that's your identity rule. When someone asks something that doesn't fit, you respond from that identity. 2 weeks later, he told me, I've said no 5 times this week, and I don't feel guilty because I'm not being mean. I'm being true to who I decided to be. His mind became calmer because he wasn't constantly wrestling with, what should I do? He knew who he was and acted accordingly. The deeper truth, mental instability often comes from identity instability. When you don't know who you are, every choice is a crisis. When you're clear on your identity, choices flow naturally. The practice, right now, write out. What kind of person am I choosing to be? 3 rules that define how that person thinks and acts. 3 things that person doesn't do. Keep this somewhere visible. When you face a decision this week, don't ask, what should I do? Ask, what would the person I'm choosing to be do? Then do that. Learning number 15. Your mind is overactive because you treat rest like guilt. The problem, when you're not being productive, you feel uncomfortable, guilty, like you're wasting time. Even when you're exhausted, you can't truly rest because your brain keeps whispering, you should be doing something. The real cause. Modern culture has trained you to see rest as the opposite of productivity. But neuroscience tells us something different. Your brain's default mode network, the part that processes emotions, consolidates memories, and generates creative insights, only activates during rest. When you're constantly doing, you're actually blocking the very processes that lead to clarity and creativity. Rest isn't laziness. It's a necessary part of how your mind functions. The solution: intentional rest. This isn't about collapsing on the couch scrolling social media. That's not rest, that's distraction. Real rest is unstructured time where your mind is free to wander. Here's how to practice it. Schedule rest like you schedule work. 20 to 30 minutes daily. No screens, no input, no goals. You can sit quietly, walk without a podcast, stare out the window, lie on the floor. Sounds boring? That's the point. Your mind needs boredom to reset. It needs emptiness to process everything you've been feeding it. During this rest time, don't fight the thoughts that appear. Don't try to clear your mind. Just let your thoughts drift. They might be random. They might solve a problem you've been stuck on. They might bring up an emotion you've been avoiding. All of that is the rest process working. Real example. I used to pride myself on being always on. Every spare moment was filled. Podcasts during walks, audiobooks during drives, articles during meals. Then I started feeling mentally exhausted, even though I wasn't doing anything particularly strenuous. A mentor told me, "You're overloading your input without giving your brain processing time. Try 1 week. Daily 20-minute walk with nothing, no phone, no podcast, just walking." I resisted. "But I'll waste time. I could be learning something." She smiled. "Try it. See what happens." First walk felt excruciating. My brain kept reaching for stimulation. By the third day, something shifted. Ideas started appearing. Solutions to problems I'd been stuck on just emerged. Not because I was trying to think about them, but because my mind finally had space to process. By the end of the week, those 20 minutes became my favorite part of the day. The deeper truth. You can't download constantly without time to install. Rest isn't wasted time. It's when your brain organizes everything, finds patterns, and creates insights. When you give yourself permission to rest without guilt, your mind becomes calmer because it's not constantly straining under an overload. It never gets to process. The practice. This week, schedule one 20-minute rest session daily. No screens, no input. Just you and your thoughts. Let yourself be bored. Let your mind wander. Notice what emerges when you finally give your brain space to breathe. Learning, number 16. Your mind is chaotic because you're trying to control the future. The problem. You spend hours thinking about what's coming next. How will I get there? What if this doesn't work? I need to figure out every step before I start. You're trying to control outcomes that haven't happened yet. The real cause. Your brain wants to reduce uncertainty by creating the illusion of control. If you can mentally map out the entire future, you feel safer. But here's the reality. The future is inherently uncontrollable. When you spend mental energy trying to control what hasn't happened, you lose presence in what is happening. And that creates anxiety because you're constantly reaching for something that doesn't exist yet. The solution. Present anchor system. This isn't about living in the moment in some abstract way. It's about redirecting your focus from future thinking to present action. When you catch yourself spiraling about the future, ask, 1. What am I doing right now? Literally. What's the current task in front of you? 2. What's the next immediate step? Not the entire path, just the very next action. 3. Can I take that step now? If yes, do it. If no, let it go until you can. Example. Your mind. How am I going to hit my annual goal? There's so much to do. What if I fail? Present anchor. Right now, I'm working on this project proposal. The next step is finishing the budget. Section I can work on that for the next 30 minutes. Focus narrows. Anxiety decreases. Real example. My client Rachel was launching a new business. Every day she'd spiral into future thinking. What if customers don't come? How will I scale? What about 6 months from now? She was so focused on the distant future that she was paralyzed in the present. I taught her the anchor questions. When her mind started future spiraling, she'd stop. What am I doing right now? Calling potential clients. What's the next step? Make 3 more calls. Can I do that now? Yes. She told me, it sounds too simple to work, but it does. Every time I bring myself back to the present action, the anxiety shrinks. Why? Because in the present, there's always something you can do. In the future, there's only uncertainty. The deeper truth, the strongest source of calm, isn't predicting the future. It's being fully present in what you can control right now. Control the moment. The future takes care of itself. The practice. This week, every time you notice future anxiety, name what you're doing right now. Identify the next immediate step. Take that step. Pull yourself out of the imaginary future into the real present. That's where your power actually lives. Learning number 17. Your mind is restless because you overstimulate yourself constantly. The problem, constant noise, music playing, notifications buzzing, scrolling between tasks, social media during every break. You haven't experienced genuine silence in weeks, maybe months. The real cause. Your brain is stuck in a dopamine spike cycle. Every notification, every scroll, every new piece of content triggers a small dopamine release. Your brain starts craving that stimulation. And when stimulation becomes your baseline, natural calmness feels boring, uncomfortable, wrong. Research from Stanford shows that chronic high stimulation environments reduce attention span and emotional stability. Your nervous system never gets to settle. The solution: low stimulation, periods. You need to recalibrate your baseline. Teach your brain that calm doesn't equal boredom. The practice: 1 to 2 hours daily. 0 digital input, no music, no phone, no TV, no scrolling. Just normal activities. Cooking, walking, sitting, thinking, without artificial stimulation. What will happen? First 3 days, uncomfortable. You'll feel restless. Your brain will reach for distraction. That's withdrawal, not a sign something's wrong. Days 4 to 7, your nervous system starts recalibrating. Silence becomes less threatening. Week 2 plus, you'll start craving these low stimulation periods because your brain finally remembers what actual rest feels like. Real example, I had a habit of constant audio input, podcast during breakfast, music during work, YouTube during dinner, audiobook before bed. I thought I was optimizing my time. Then I tried 1 week, 2 hours daily with 0 audio input, just silence and my own thoughts. Day 1 was torture. I felt like something was missing. Day 4, something shifted. I noticed details I'd been missing. The sound of rain, my own thought process, ideas appearing organically. By week 2, I realized I hadn't been optimizing. I'd been avoiding being alone with myself. Those silent periods became non-negotiable, because that's when my mind actually settled. The deeper truth: you can't outstimulate your way to calmness. Constant input doesn't make you more productive or informed. It makes you more scattered. When you create low stimulation periods, your nervous system finally gets to reset. The practice. This week, create 1 daily low stimulation window. Morning routine, 30 minutes. No phone/music. Evening wind down, 1 hour before bed, no screens. 1 meal, eaten in silence. It will feel weird. That's okay. Sit with the discomfort. Your mind is recalibrating to a healthier baseline. Learning number 18. Your mind isn't calm because you depend on external validation. The problem: other people's opinions affect you deeply. Did they like your post? Did they approve of your decision? Do they think you're doing well? When you get positive feedback, you feel good. When you don't, you spiral. The real cause, your self-worth, is tied to external feedback. When approval comes from outside, your mental state becomes dependent on things you can't control. Other people's moods, opinions, reactions. And when your stability depends on external factors, you can never truly be calm. The solution: build an internal validation system. This doesn't mean you ignore all feedback. It means your primary measure of success comes from internal standards, not external approval. Here's how. Every evening, ask yourself 3 questions. Did I follow my own rules today? Not, did I impress anyone? But, did I act according to my values? Did I maintain my standards? Not, did people notice? But, did I do what I said I'd do? Am I proud of how I showed up? Not, did I get praised? But, did I give my best effort? If the answer to these is yes, the day was successful, regardless of what anyone else said or didn't say. Real example, my client David was a people pleaser. His entire mood depended on whether people were happy with him. One bad review, his whole week was ruined. One client complaint, he questioned his entire career. I gave him the 3-question system. At first, he resisted. But what if I'm failing and just don't realize it? I said, you'll know you're failing when you stop following your own standards, not when one person disagrees with you. He started the practice. Every night, he'd evaluate based on his internal standards, not external reactions. 3 weeks in, I got a harsh email from a client today. Normally, I'd spiral for hours, but I asked myself, did I do quality work? Yes. Did I communicate clearly? Yes. Did I act with integrity? Yes. So I responded professionally and moved on. I didn't carry it around all day. His mind became calmer because his stability wasn't at the mercy of other people's moods anymore. The deeper truth: when validation comes from within, your mind stops being controlled by the external world. You can receive feedback without being destabilized by it. You can face criticism without collapsing. You can operate from a stable foundation that doesn't shift based on who's watching. The practice: tonight, before bed, answer the 3 questions. Did I follow my rules? Did I maintain my standards? Am I proud of how I showed up? If yes, declare the day a success, regardless of external feedback. Do this for 7 days. Notice how your mental stability changes when it comes from within instead of outside. Recap. Part 3, summary. We've covered 6 deeper patterns. Create a pause gap. 2 seconds between trigger and reaction. Define your identity. Clear self equals automatic decisions. Practice intentional rest. Your brain needs processing time. Anchor in the present. Control the moment, not the future. Reduce stimulation. Recalibrate your baseline to calm. Build internal validation. Don't depend on external approval. Here's the truth emerging. Most mental chaos doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from internal patterns you've been running unconsciously. Reactive responses, unclear identity, constant stimulation, external dependence. These aren't personality flaws. They're habits, and habits can be retrained. In the next part, we'll explore the final layers: emotional processing, decision automation, and building a mental system so stable that chaos around you doesn't create chaos within you. But before we continue, pause. Which pattern from this section do you recognize in yourself? Not all of them, just one. Write it down. Commit to interrupting that pattern this week, because awareness without action changes nothing. But one pattern interrupted, That's where transformation starts. Learning number 19. Your mind isn't calm because you're mismatching mental speed and life speed. The problem: you want instant clarity, immediate answers, quick solutions. You expect to figure everything out right now, and when you can't, you feel anxious and stuck. The real cause: your brain has become addicted to fast answers. Search engines give you information in zero point 0.3 seconds. Social media gives you entertainment instantly. Food delivery arrives in 30 minutes. Your mind has learned to expect everything at high speed. But here's the problem: real clarity doesn't come fast. It emerges slowly. Deep understanding takes time. Good decisions require reflection. Personal growth unfolds gradually. When you demand instant clarity on things that naturally take time, you create internal pressure that makes your mind restless. The solution: practice slow thinking mode. This isn't about being indecisive. It's about giving complex situations the processing time they deserve. When facing a complicated decision or situation, don't react immediately. Deliberately slow down. Here's the practice. Step 1. Take 10 to 15 minutes. No distractions. Sit somewhere quiet. No phone. No multitasking. Just you and the question. Step 2. Ask yourself these questions. Am I overreacting to this problem? Will this matter in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year? What's the worst realistic outcome, not the catastrophic fantasy? What information do I actually have versus what I'm assuming? Step 3. Let it sit. You don't have to decide right now. Tell yourself, I'll think about this again tomorrow. What this does: it moves your brain from impulsive mode, react now, to analytical mode, let me actually think. The anxiety decreases because you're no longer forcing yourself to have answers you don't have yet. Real example: my friend Ethan ran a small company. Every business challenge would send him into immediate panic mode. Sales dip 1 week. We're failing. I need to pivot everything right now. One client leaves. I'm doing this all wrong. I should change my entire strategy. I taught him slow thinking. Next time he faced a problem, instead of immediate panic action, he took 15 minutes to sit with these questions. Will this matter in a month? Often the answer was no. Am I overreacting? Usually, yes. What do I actually know versus what I'm assuming? He realized most of his panic was based on imagined scenarios, not facts. He told me, it's counterintuitive, but slowing down actually helps me make better decisions faster, because I'm not wasting energy on panic-driven reactions. The deeper truth: the pressure to think fast creates mental chaos. When you give yourself permission to think slowly, especially on complex matters, your mind settles. Not everything needs to be figured out today. The practice: this week, when you face a stressful decision, don't immediately react. Take 15 minutes of slow, distraction-free thinking. Ask the 4 questions above, sleep on it. Before deciding, notice how clarity often emerges when you stop forcing it. Learning number 20. Your mind is disturbed because you ignore your energy cycles. The problem: you try to power through your entire day at the same intensity. 9 a.m. meeting, full focus. 3 p.m. task, try to maintain that same focus. 9 p.m. project, push harder. But your brain doesn't cooperate. Some hours you're sharp, others you're foggy. You fight yourself constantly. The real cause: your body operates on ultradian rhythms, natural 90 to 120-minute energy cycles. During peak cycles, your focus is sharp. During low cycles, Your brain needs rest. But most people ignore these rhythms. They try to force high performance during low energy periods, creating internal resistance and mental fatigue. The solution: work with your natural peaks. Stop fighting your biology. Start working with it. Here's how. Step 1. Track your energy for 3 days. Every hour, note your focus level on a scale of 1 to 10. You'll start noticing patterns. Maybe 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is your peak. Maybe 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is your slump. Maybe 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. you get a second wind. Step 2. Match tasks to energy levels. High energy periods, deep work, complex problems, creative thinking. Medium energy periods, meetings, emails, communication. Low energy periods, administrative tasks, simple organization, rest. Step 3. Honor the low periods. When your energy dips, don't force it. Take a break. Go for a walk. Do something that doesn't require peak mental power. Real example. I used to schedule my hardest work for late afternoon because that's when I had time. But 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. is naturally my lowest energy period. I'd sit there, staring at my screen, forcing myself to concentrate. It would take me 3 hours to do what should take 45 minutes. Then I started tracking my energy cycles. I discovered 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. were my peak focus times. So I rearranged everything. Deep work in the morning and evening, meetings and admin in the afternoon when my focus was naturally lower. Same amount of work, half the mental strain. The deeper truth: fighting your natural energy cycles creates unnecessary mental struggle. When you work with your rhythms instead of against them, the internal resistance disappears. You're not forcing your brain to perform when it's biologically programmed to rest. The practice. This week, track your energy levels hourly for 3 days. Identify your peak focus times. Schedule your hardest mental work during those peaks. Allow rest during natural low periods. Stop fighting yourself. Start working with your natural design. Learning, number 21, your mind won't calm because you're addicted to closure. The problem: you need every question answered, every situation resolved, every uncertainty eliminated. Why did that happen? What does this mean? What's going to happen next? And when you can't get those answers immediately, you keep mentally circling, trying to force closure. The real cause: your brain is uncomfortable with open loops, unresolved situations. So it keeps searching for closure, even when closure isn't available yet. The problem? Not everything has an immediate answer. Some things take time to unfold. Some questions don't have clear answers. When you demand closure on things that can't be closed yet, you create constant mental spinning. The solution: practice open-loop acceptance. This is a mindset shift that will fundamentally change how your mind operates. The practice: when an unresolved question appears, instead of trying to force an answer, say to yourself, "This doesn't have an answer yet, and that's okay." Then deliberately redirect your attention to something you can control right now. Example: worry. I don't know if this project will succeed. Old response: spend hours analyzing, researching, trying to predict the outcome. New response: I can't know that yet. What I can do is my best work today. The outcome will reveal itself later. What this does: it trains your brain to tolerate uncertainty instead of fighting it. Most anxiety comes from trying to force closure on things that naturally take time. Real example: my client Nina was waiting to hear back about a job opportunity. Every day without news, she'd spiral. Did I say something wrong in the interview? Should I follow up again? What if they went with someone else? I need to know now. I taught her open-loop acceptance. You can't know the answer yet. It's still unfolding. Trying to force closure won't speed it up. It'll just drain you. She practiced saying, I don't know yet, and I'm okay with not knowing. The first few times felt fake, but gradually she noticed. The anxiety decreased. Not because the uncertainty disappeared, but because she stopped fighting it. When the answer finally came, she got the job. She realized she'd wasted hours of mental energy trying to force something that just needed time. The deeper truth. Closure addiction keeps your mind in constant searching mode. When you accept that some things remain open, your mind gets to rest instead of constantly seeking. The practice. This week, when you catch yourself demanding immediate answers, notice the urge for closure. Say, this doesn't have an answer yet. Redirect to something you can control now. Let some loops stay open. They'll close in their own time. Learning. Number 22. Your mind is overactive because you're stuck in comparison loops. The problem, you constantly measure yourself against others. Their success makes you feel behind. Their happiness makes you question yours. Their achievements highlight what you haven't done. The real cause. Social media has created a constant comparison environment. Your brain is exposed to hundreds of people's highlight reels daily, and it unconsciously compares your behind the scenes to their curated best moments. Psychologists call this relative self-evaluation, where your worth fluctuates based on how you stack up against others. The problem? This creates a moving target. You're never enough because there's always someone ahead. The solution: comparison detox system. You can't eliminate all comparison. It's hardwired into human nature, but you can redirect it internally instead of externally. Here's the 3-step system. Step 1, limit social media consumption. Not forever. Just set boundaries. Check once daily instead of constantly. Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison. Notice when you're scrolling to feel worse about yourself, then stop. Step 2, daily internal comparison question. Every evening ask, am I better today than I was yesterday? Not better than someone else. Better than your own previous version. Did you handle a situation with more patience, learn something new, make progress on a goal? Step 3, track one skill weekly. Pick one thing you're improving. Track it weekly. Better at staying calm under pressure. Stronger focus sessions. More consistent with your morning routine. When you measure against your own progress, you control the metric. Real example. My friend Lisa was drowning in comparison. Every Instagram scroll left her feeling inadequate. Everyone's traveling, starting businesses, getting promoted. I'm just here. I gave her the detox system. Step 1, she limited Instagram to 10 minutes daily. Step 2, every night she wrote one way she improved that day. Step 3, she tracked her consistency with morning exercise, her own goal, not anyone else's. 3 weeks later, I didn't realize how much mental energy I was spending comparing myself to people whose lives I don't even actually want. When I started measuring against my own progress, I felt lighter. The deeper truth: external comparison creates instability because you're measuring yourself against variables you can't control. Internal comparison creates stability because you're measuring progress you can control. The practice. This week, Set a social media time limit, 30 minutes max daily, each evening. How did I improve today? Pick one skill to track weekly progress. When your comparison shifts from external to internal, your mind stabilizes. Learning number 23. Your mind isn't calm because you don't clear. Mental clutter. The problem, old conversations replay in your head. Past mistakes resurface. Future worries accumulate. Unused information piles up. Your mind feels crowded, noisy, like a browser with 100 tabs open. The real cause, mental clutter accumulation. Your brain holds on to things you haven't consciously released, conversations you never processed, emotions you never acknowledged, plans you never acted on or canceled, information you consumed but never used. It all sits there, taking up mental space. The solution, weekly mental reset session. Think of this as cleaning out your mental closet, regularly, systematically. Here's the practice. Every Sunday or your chosen day, take 20 minutes. Step 1, brain dump everything. Write down everything occupying mental space, things stressing you, decisions you're avoiding, plans you're holding on to, emotions you haven't processed. Don't filter, just dump it all out. Step 2, categorize each item. Next to each thing, write one of these. Action. This needs to be done. When will I do it? Release. This is outside my control or no longer relevant. I'm letting it go. Later. This matters but not now. When will I revisit it? Step 3. Clear the list items marked. Action. Schedule them or do them now. Items marked. Release. Cross them out. Say out loud, I'm releasing this. Items marked. Later. Put in a calendar reminder for when you'll address it. What this does, it gives your brain permission to stop holding on to everything. When you externalize the clutter and make conscious decisions about each piece, your mind gets lighter. Real example. I used to carry mental clutter for weeks. Random worries, half-formed plans, unprocessed emotions, all just floating around. Then I started weekly resets. First time, I wrote down 34 items, 34 things my brain was trying to remember and manage. I went through each. 12 were things I could just let go, worried about something that already passed. 8 needed quick action, mostly took under 5 minutes each. 14 went into my calendar for later. After that session, I felt like my mind had taken a deep breath. Now, every Sunday, 20 minutes, my mind stays clear because nothing accumulates for long. The deeper truth, mental clutter isn't just overthinking. It's unprocessed mental material taking up RAM. When you regularly clear it out, your mind operates faster and calmer. The practice, this Sunday, set a 20-minute timer. Brain dump everything on your mind. Categorize, action, release, or later. Clear each item accordingly. Make this a weekly ritual. Your mind will thank you. Learning number 24. Your mind stays disturbed because you live in the control illusion. The problem, you try to control everything, other people's reactions, future outcomes, how things will unfold. And when you can't control these things, which is most things, you feel anxious and powerless. The real cause, your brain wants predictability, because predictability feels like safety. So it tries to control everything to make life predictable. But reality is inherently unpredictable, and most things are outside your control. The mismatch between what I want to control and what I actually can control creates constant mental tension. The solution, the control circle method. This is a game changer for mental clarity. Here's how it works. Draw 3 circles. Circle 1, full control. Things completely within your power. Your actions, your effort, your habits, your responses, your attitude. Circle 2, partial control. Things you can influence but not control. Other people's opinions of you, outcomes of your work, how situations unfold. Circle 3, no control. Things completely outside your power. Other people's choices, the economy, the past, most of the future. Now, here's the practice. Every worry, every stress, every problem, put it in one of these circles. If it's in circle 3, no control, let it go. Completely. You're wasting energy on something you cannot influence. If it's in circle 2, partial control, do what you can influence, then release attachment to the outcome. If it's in circle 1, full control, take action. This is where your power actually lives. Real example. My client Jordan was stressed about a presentation to potential investors. His worries: what if they don't like me? What if they say no? What if I mess up? I walked him through the circles. What if they don't like me? Circle 3. You can't control their feelings. Release it. What if they say no? Circle 2. You can influence it with good preparation, but you can't control their final decision. Do your best, then let it go. What if I mess up? Circle 1. You can control your preparation. Practice your talk. Rehearse answers. Get feedback. That's your power. After mapping it out, he said, I was spending 80% of my mental energy on things I can't control. No wonder I was exhausted. He shifted his focus to circle 1, prepared thoroughly, then let go of the outcome. The presentation went well, but more importantly, his mind was calm throughout, because he wasn't trying to control the uncontrollable. The deeper truth: most mental disturbance comes from trying to control what you cannot control. When you clarify what's actually in your power, you stop wasting energy on everything else. The practice, right now. Write down everything currently stressing you. Put each item in one of the 3 circles. Circle 3, release it. Circle 2, influence what you can, then let go. Circle 1, take action. Your mind will calm down when it stops fighting battles it can't win. Recap. Part 4. Summary. We've covered 6 control systems. Match mental speed to life speed. Some things need slow thinking. Work with energy cycles. Honor your natural rhythms. Accept open loops. Not everything needs immediate closure. Shift comparison internally. Measure against your own progress. Clear mental clutter weekly. Regular resets. Prevent accumulation. Clarify your control circles. Stop fighting what you can't control. Here's the pattern. Mental chaos often comes from misalignment. Misalignment between the speed you want and the speed things actually take. The energy you demand and the energy you naturally have. The closure you crave and the uncertainty that exists. The comparison you make and the metrics that matter. The clutter you carry and the clarity you need. The control you seek and the control you actually have. When you align these, your mind settles naturally. In the next part, we'll explore the final layers: emotional completion, input quality, progress tracking, and building a mental system so solid that external chaos can't destabilize you. But right now, stop and reflect. Which misalignment resonated most with you? Pick one, just one. Write down the specific practice that addresses it. Then commit to practicing it for the next 3 days. Because transformation isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right one thing consistently. Learning number 25. Your mind is disturbed because you carry emotional backlog. The problem: past disappointments still sting. Old rejections replay in your mind. Previous failures whisper doubts. You think you've moved on, but these unprocessed emotions are still active in the background, creating mental noise. The real cause: emotions don't disappear just because you ignore them. When something painful happens and you don't fully process it, you just push it down and keep moving, that emotion gets stored. And stored emotions don't stay quiet. They resurface as unexpected triggers, disproportionate reactions, vague anxiety with no clear source, mental restlessness you can't explain. You're carrying emotional weight you never consciously acknowledged. The solution: emotional completion system. This isn't therapy. It's a practical method for closing emotional loops so they stop draining your mental energy. Here's the process. Step 1. When an old memory or emotion surfaces, don't avoid it. Instead of pushing it away, turn toward it. Step 2. Write it out consciously. Answer these questions. What happened? The facts, not your interpretation. What did I feel then? Name the emotions specifically. How do I see it now? From your current perspective. What closure do I need? What would help you release this? Step 3. Give yourself that closure. This might be forgiving yourself, accepting that it happened, acknowledging what you learned, choosing to release the grip it has on you. You're not erasing the memory. You're completing the emotional process, so it stops demanding attention. Real example: my friend Alex kept getting triggered in work meetings. Anytime someone questioned his ideas, he'd get defensive and anxious. I asked him to write about it. Turns out it connected to a memory from 8 years ago. A manager who publicly criticized his work, making him feel humiliated. He'd never processed it, just moved jobs and tried to forget. But the emotion was still there, activating every time someone questioned him. I walked him through completion. What happened? My manager criticized my project in front of the team. I felt embarrassed. What did I feel? Humiliation, inadequacy, anger that he did it publicly. How do I see it now? He was a poor manager. That was about his issues, not my competence. I've done good work since then. What closure do I need? To forgive myself for taking it so personally, to acknowledge I've grown, to let it go. He wrote a final sentence. That happened. I learned from it. It doesn't define me. I'm releasing it now. 2 weeks later, someone questioned his idea in a meeting. He noticed the old trigger starting, but it had no power. He responded calmly, even welcomed the feedback. The emotional backlog was cleared. The deeper truth: unprocessed emotions are like apps running in the background. You don't see them, but they're draining your battery. When you complete them, you free up mental resources. The practice: this week, identify one old emotional wound that still bothers you. Write the 4 questions. Be honest in your answers. Consciously give yourself closure. You might be surprised how much mental space opens up when you stop carrying what you were never meant to hold forever. Learning number 26. Your mind won't calm because you overplan. Instead of execute the problem, you spend hours planning the perfect approach, creating detailed strategies, thinking through every possible scenario. But when it's time to actually do the thing, you hesitate, overthink, plan more. The real cause: planning gives you a dopamine hit without the risk of action. Your brain loves planning because it feels productive, but it's safe. You can't fail at planning. Execution, though? That's where real risk lives. So your brain keeps you in planning mode to avoid the vulnerability of actually trying. But endless planning creates mental clutter, and it tricks you into feeling busy while nothing actually moves forward. The solution, the 80-20 execution rule. Simple principle, 20% planning, 80% execution. Here's how it works. When starting anything new, spend 20% of your time planning. What's the goal? What's the first step? What could go wrong? How will I handle it? Then stop planning. Start doing. The remaining 80% is pure execution. You adjust as you go. You learn by doing, not by planning more. The practice, before making any plan, ask, can I take action on this within the next 24 hours? If yes, create a minimal plan and execute immediately. If no, schedule when you'll execute, then close the loop. Real example. My client Sam wanted to start a newsletter. He spent 3 months researching platforms, designing the perfect format, planning content themes, analyzing competitors. 0 emails sent. I asked him, what's stopping you from sending 1 email this week? He listed 15 things he needed to figure out first. I challenged him. What if you just wrote 1 email about something you know and sent it to 10 people? What's the actual worst case? Long pause. I guess. Nothing terrible. Maybe no one reads it. Okay, so what would you learn from that? Whether people are interested, what resonates, what questions they have. And you can only learn that by doing it, not planning it. He sent his first newsletter that week. It wasn't perfect, but 3 people replied with great questions that shaped his next ones. 3 months of planning couldn't have taught him what 1 week of execution did. The deeper truth. Over-planning is often fear disguised as preparation. When you bias toward execution, you stop spinning in your head and start learning in reality. The practice. Right now. Identify 1 thing you've been over-planning. Create a minimal plan, 10 minutes max. Take 1 action toward it today. Commit to 80% execution, 20% planning. Your mind calms down when it's building in reality, not endlessly rehearsing in your head. Learning. Number 27. Your mind stays disturbed because your input quality is low. The problem. You consume whatever shows up in your feed, scroll through random content, listen to things that don't actually serve you. Then you wonder why your mind feels scattered and unclear. The real cause. Your brain becomes what it consumes. Feed it negativity, drama, and low-value content. It generates negative, dramatic, scattered thoughts. Feed it clarity, insight, and quality. It generates clearer, more focused thoughts. This isn't motivation talk. It's how neural pathways work. What you expose your brain to shapes how it thinks. The solution. Input. Quality filter. You need standards for what enters your mind. Here's the filter system. Rule 1. Before consuming anything, ask, will this make me think more clearly or less clearly? If less clearly, outrage content. Comparison triggers, mindless entertainment when you need focus. Skip it. Rule 2. After consuming content, write. What did I learn? How will I use this? What's 1 action this inspires? If you can't answer these, the content was low value. Adjust future consumption accordingly. Rule 3. Curate your inputs intentionally. Don't just consume what algorithms feed you. Choose content that challenges you constructively, ideas that expand your thinking, people who make you want to be better. Real example. I used to scroll Twitter during breaks, read random articles, watch whatever YouTube recommended. I thought I was staying informed, but I noticed, after 30 minutes of scrolling, my mind felt foggy, scattered, harder to focus on my actual work. So I created input standards. Morning, only consume content that builds skills or clarity, books, courses, focused articles. Afternoon, social media allowed, but only follows that inspire or educate. No outrage, no comparison triggers. Evening, nothing that revs up my mind. Fiction, documentaries, conversations. Within 1 week, my mental clarity improved noticeably, not because I was consuming less, because I was consuming better. The deeper truth: you can't fill your mind with junk and expect it to produce clarity. Quality in equals quality out. The practice. This week, before consuming anything, ask, will this increase or decrease my clarity? After consuming, write the 3 questions. Unfollow 5 accounts that make you feel worse. Follow 3 sources that make you think better. Watch how your mental state shifts when you guard what enters your mind. Learning number 28. Your mind isn't calm because you don't track progress. The problem: you feel like you're not improving, like you're stuck in the same patterns, making no real progress. This creates frustration and hopelessness, which keeps your mind restless. The real cause: progress is often invisible. Small daily improvements don't feel significant in the moment, but they compound over weeks and months. The problem? Your brain doesn't naturally track incremental progress. It only notices dramatic changes, so you're actually improving, but you can't see it, and that creates the illusion of being stuck. The solution: progress tracking system. Make your progress visible so your brain can recognize it. Here's the daily practice. Every evening, write 3 things. 1. What did I improve today? Not, did I achieve perfection? But, what's even 1% better than yesterday? Examples: I noticed my frustration earlier and paused before reacting. I stayed focused for 30 minutes without checking my phone. I declined something that didn't align with my priorities. 2. What did I avoid today? What negative pattern did you interrupt? Examples: I didn't scroll first thing in the morning. I didn't react defensively when criticized. I didn't overthink a decision for hours. 3. What did I learn today? 1 insight, 1 realization, 1 piece of feedback absorbed. What this does: it gives your brain evidence of progress. Instead of the vague feeling, I'm not getting anywhere, you have concrete data. Here are 90 things I improved this month. Real example: my client, Maria, felt like she was making no progress with managing her anxiety. I still get anxious, still overthink. Nothing's changed. I asked her to start tracking. Day 1. I noticed my anxiety about the meeting earlier, around 9 a.m. instead of letting it build all day. Small, but different. Day 7. I used the 2-second pause before responding to a stressful email. Old me would have reacted immediately. Day 21. I felt anxiety rising during a presentation, but I kept going instead of spiraling. That would have derailed me a month ago. After 30 days, she read back through her entries. I can't believe how much has actually shifted. I was looking for no more anxiety, but what actually happened was I learned to work with it instead of being controlled by it. That's huge progress I couldn't see day to day. The deeper truth: when you don't track progress, your brain defaults to nothing's changing. When you track it, you see the compound growth happening beneath the surface. The practice: starting tonight, write the 3 questions daily. Keep this in one notebook or document. Review it weekly to see patterns. Celebrate the small wins you'd otherwise miss. Your mind becomes calmer when it can see evidence that you're growing, even in small ways. Learning. Number 29. Your mind overthinks because you make instant meaning of everything. The problem: something happens and immediately your brain assigns meaning to it. Someone doesn't respond to your text. They're mad at me. A project gets delayed. I'm failing. You have a bad day. Everything's falling apart. Your mind creates stories instantly, and most of those stories are negative. The real cause: your brain craves certainty, even when the truth is uncertain. So when something ambiguous happens, your brain fills in the blanks with a story, usually a negative one. Remember, your brain's job is to protect you from threats, not make you happy. But these instant interpretations are often wrong, and they create unnecessary anxiety. The solution: meaning, delay, rule. Simple principle: don't assign meaning immediately. Give it 24 hours. Here's the practice. When something happens that triggers interpretation, instead of "this means X," say, "this happened. I don't know what it means yet." Then observe without interpreting. Watch what unfolds. Gather more information. Let the situation reveal itself. After 24 hours, ask, what actually happened? Facts only. What am I assuming? What else could this mean? What's the most likely explanation? Real example. My friend Jordan sent a proposal to a potential client. No response for 3 days. His immediate meaning-making: they hated it. I'm going to lose this deal. I probably came across as inexperienced. Full anxiety spiral. I said, what if you delay making meaning? Just sit with, they haven't responded yet. I don't know why. He resisted. But I need to figure out what to do. Based on what? A story. You invented. Wait 24 hours. See what happens. Day 4, the client responded, sorry for the delay. I was out sick. This looks great. Let's move forward. All that anxiety was based on a meaning Jordan created from incomplete information. The deeper truth: most overthinking comes from premature meaning-making. When you delay interpretation, you stop creating anxiety from stories that aren't true. The practice. This week, notice when you immediately interpret something, pause and say, I don't know what this means yet. Wait 24 hours before assigning meaning. Then ask the 4 questions. You'll be surprised how often your initial interpretation was wrong, and how much mental energy you save by not spinning on it. Learning number 30. Your mind won't stabilize because you depend on external stability. The problem: when things are going well externally, you feel good. When things get chaotic externally, you fall apart. Your mental state is completely dependent on circumstances outside your control. The real cause: you've built your stability on external foundations. If your mood depends on whether people approve of you, whether things go according to plan, whether you're achieving visible success, then your stability is conditional, and conditions change constantly. The solution: internal anchor system. Build stability that comes from within, not from external circumstances. Here's how. Create an internal scorecard. Every day, evaluate yourself based on internal standards, not external outcomes. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Did I stay focused today? Not, did I finish everything? But, was I present with what I was doing? 2. Did I stay calm today? Not, did everything go smoothly? But did I respond instead of react? 3. Did I stay disciplined today? Not did I achieve my goals, but did I follow my own commitments? If you can answer yes to these, the day was a success, regardless of external outcomes. What this does, it disconnects your self-worth from circumstances you can't control. You can have a bad outcome day, but still score well on your internal metrics because you showed up with integrity, focus, and calmness. Real example. My client David's mood was entirely outcome dependent. Got a new client? Euphoric. Client delayed payment? Devastated. Good meeting? Great day. Challenging conversation? Terrible day. I introduced the internal scorecard. One week, he had 3 client cancellations. External chaos. Normally, this would have wrecked him for days. But he evaluated based on internal metrics. Did I stay focused? Yes. Continued working on my core projects. Did I stay calm? Yes. Didn't panic or make reactive decisions. Did I stay disciplined? Yes. Stuck to my routines despite stress. He told me, the circumstances sucked, but I didn't fall apart. Because my stability wasn't dependent on those circumstances anymore. The deeper truth, external circumstances will always fluctuate. When your stability comes from how you show up, not what happens, you become unshakable. The practice, starting tonight. Evaluate yourself on the 3 internal questions. Score yourself honestly. Notice, external chaos can exist while internal stability holds. Over time, this builds a foundation that external chaos can't topple. Recap. Part 5. Summary. We've covered 6 stability builders, complete emotional loops, clear the backlog so it stops draining you, bias toward execution, 20% planning, 80% doing filter input quality. Your mind reflects what you consume. Track progress visibly. Recognize growth your brain might miss. Delay meaning-making. Don't interpret instantly. Build internal anchors. Stability from within, not circumstances. Here's the core truth emerging. A calm mind isn't built by controlling external chaos. It's built by creating internal systems that hold steady, regardless of what's happening outside. Emotional completion stops past pain from creating present noise. Execution bias stops planning paralysis from creating mental clutter. Input quality ensures you're not poisoning your own thinking. Progress tracking shows growth your brain might not notice. Delayed meaning stops premature stories from creating anxiety. Internal anchors disconnect your stability from uncontrollable circumstances. When these systems are in place, you become unshakable. Not because nothing bothers you, but because you have a foundation that external chaos can't topple. In the final part, we'll integrate everything, how to handle the deepest patterns, build lasting mental systems, and create a life where calmness isn't something you chase, it's something you live from. But before we continue, pause. Look back at learnings 25 to 30. Which one addresses your biggest current struggle? Write it down. Commit to practicing that specific system for the next week. Because knowledge without application is just entertainment. But one system practiced consistently, that's transformation. The ultimate realization. We've covered 30 learnings, dozens of techniques, multiple systems. But here's what you need to understand above everything else. A calm mind isn't built by doing everything perfectly. It's built by doing a few things consistently. You don't need all 30 practices. You need the right 3 to 5 that address your specific patterns. The simple daily system. If you only take 3 things from this entire guide, make it these. Morning, 5-minute breathing, plus intentional focus. Before checking your phone, before diving into your day, breathe deliberately and decide what your mind will work on today. This single practice sets the tone. It gives your mind direction instead of letting it run wild. During the day, the 2-second pause. When triggered emotionally, pause for 2 seconds. Observe your body, then respond instead of react. This builds the gap between stimulus and response, the foundation of all mental control. Evening, brain dump plus progress track. Write down everything occupying mental space. Categorize it, action, release, or later. Then track one thing you improved today. This clears mental clutter and shows your brain evidence of growth. That's it. 3 practices, daily. If you do nothing else from this guide, do these 3 consistently for 21 days. The uncomfortable truth. Most people won't do this. They'll read everything, feel inspired, and change nothing. Because consistency is harder than motivation. Systems are less exciting than breakthroughs, but here's reality. Motivation fades. Systems stay. The person who does 5 minutes of breathing every single day for a year will have a calmer mind than the person who does an intense meditation retreat once. Not because the retreat isn't valuable, but because transformation comes from repetition, not revelation. Your decision point. You now have a complete system for calming your mind. The question isn't whether it works. The question is, will you work it? Right now, you're at a fork in the road. Path 1. Close this, feel inspired for a day, return to old patterns, wonder why nothing changes. Path 2. Pick one practice from this guide, write it down. Do it tomorrow, then the next day, then the next. The difference between these paths isn't knowledge. You have the knowledge. The difference is action. The final challenge. Don't try to implement everything. That's a setup for failure. Instead, right now, before you move on to anything else, answer this. Which one practice will I commit to for the next 7 days? Write it down. Set a reminder. Tell someone about it. Then do it. Every single day, no exceptions. After 7 days, add one more practice. After 21 days, add another. Build slowly, build solidly. Because a calm mind isn't achieved in a moment of inspiration. It's built in thousands of small moments where you choose system over impulse. The truth you need to hear, your mind won't calm down because you read this. It will calm down because you practice this. The techniques are here, the systems are clear, the path is mapped. Now the only variable left is you. What will you choose? Random thinking or intentional focus? Reactive patterns or the 2-second pause? Mental clutter or daily brain dumps? External validation or internal anchors? The answer to these questions won't be found in reading more. It will be found in doing. So stop here. Don't look for the next thing to read. Pick your one practice. Start today, because your calm mind is waiting, not somewhere out there, but in the daily actions you choose from this moment forward. The system is built. Now, build the habit. Welcome to your calm mind.